Hey everybody, good evening. Welcome to the Daily Dose. My name is Brian McIntosh, and I got to thinking today, man, as some of the radical changes that have occurred in my life over the last 6 months. And I started thinking to myself, I would look back on the way I ate, the way I used to eat, and I would think, how in the world did I ever think that was normal, right? Or I would look back at the language that I used to use 5 or 6 years ago, and I would think, why? How in the world did I ever think that was acceptable, right? Or I would look back on, any number of different habit patterns, how sedentary I was even just a year ago, as compared to how often I exercise now. And I look back and I realize that my definition of normal now is completely different than it was 6 months or a year, or especially 5 or 10 years ago. And as I began to process this and think about it, once again on the treadmill, right, my thinking place, okay, I'm starting to develop these ideas and these thoughts about normalcy and what we consider normal. And I had a conversation with my wife the other day, and we were talking about some business partners that we had, and we were just expressing to one another how it didn't seem to make sense to us, some of the decisions that they've made, some of the ways that they prioritize their time and their energies. And I said, but honey, we're 9 years into this industry and they're 6 months in. And I said, I'll bet if we talk to somebody 10 years further along than we are, or somebody that makes 10 times as much money as I make, they would look at you and I and some of the decisions that we make and think the same thing and think, what are these kids thinking? And I think it's because what happens is the more experience we gain and the more things we learn, and the more we develop and change and grow individually and personally, if we implement that into our lives into a habit, in other words, if we cultivate a habit of behaving in a different manner, even when we don't feel like it, even when it's not convenient, even when it doesn't seem fun, what happens is it changes our thinking. It doesn't just change our habits, it changes our thinking. Exercise, I still don't particularly enjoy it, but I do it just about every day now, and it's a habit, and I feel weird if I don't. I feel like a slacker if I don't, right? But a year ago, I never exercised. I didn't think anything of it. But my thinking today is so different that if I don't exercise, I actually feel weird. Even though I don't necessarily want to. I don't want to now any more than I did then. But I have a different thinking about it. It's part of my day now, and I actually feel really good about myself afterwards. And so I crave the way that I feel when I'm done. And that's why it's actually changed my thinking. Well, that's just one example with exercise, but it can happen anywhere. It can happen in your financial life when it comes to how much you save versus how much you spend, versus it can be the way that you invest your time or your money. It could be reading, making reading a habit. It could be the language you use, or the way you treat your children, or the way you treat your spouse, or attending church on Sundays, or meditation, or any number of different things. The way you eat. It could simply be smiling when you talk, right? We've had that discussion before. It could be any number of different things. And what happens is, if you'll figure out a behavior in your life that you want to change, and you'll implement it just purely out of sheer will, and do it every single day until it becomes a habit, eventually what will happen is your thinking will change. And when your thinking changes, that habit or that behavior then is no longer a habit. It's just normal. It's just normal. It's just what you do. It's just how you live. It just becomes how you talk, or how you eat, or how you express emotions, or how you deal with stress, or how you exercise, or how you run your business, or how you save, or how you spend. It just becomes normal. And so what we really want is we want more normal behaviors in our lives to be productive, and fewer of our normal behaviors to be destructive. So I would suggest that we do this, that we take one behavior at a time that we want to change, and we positively make a decision to change something. If it's, I'm going to exercise 5 days a week, then you do it no matter what, bar none. If it's, I'm going to get rid of sugar, then you just get rid of it no matter what. And just out of sheer will, you just will it into existence, because you don't have to do it for very long. 21 days, 30 days, by 45 days, it's a foregone conclusion. And by 60 or 90 days, it just becomes normal. So if you would like for normal in your life to look more healthy, more prosperous, more successful, better relationships, better love life, better marriage, whatever the case might be, if you want normal in your life to be something greater and more magical and more abundant than what you have in your life right now, then here's what you got to do. Force feed it, at least for a while, right? Fake it till you make it, if that's what it takes. But take that behavior, change it, implement it, enforce it if you have to, for a long enough period of time for it to just become automatic and become normal in your life. And that, my friends, that is the process of change. It ain't easy, but it's worth it. Make it a great day.